Level 147 introduces the chord progression. And the best way to define that would be a series of chords within a composition. It's just the movement of one chord to the next chord to the next chord. Now, to understand chord progressions, you need to understand the major chord scale for this level, and that's covered in level 135. And I took the C major chord scale from that level, and just as a quick review, we know within our C major chord scale, the 1 chord is major, the 2 and 3 chords are minor, the 4 and 5 chords are major, the 6 chord is minor, and the 7 chord is a diminished chord. So if you're putting some chords together for your next hit song, if you're in key of C, your options would be the C major chord, the D minor chord, the E minor chord, F major, G major, A minor, and the B diminished chord. You can put all those chords in any order you want to create your next tune. So to prove this, you and I are going to compose a chord progression in the key of C major. Now, most songs will start and finish with its 1 chord, so we're going to do the same thing. And to keep things simple, we're going to choose 3 other chords to accompany that 1 chord. So it doesn't matter what order you put them in, as long as those chords belong to the chord scale. So for today, I'm going to choose the 1 chord to the 6 chord, and then from there, we're going to go to the 4 chord, and then from there, we're going to finish our chord progression with the 5 chord. So we're going to play a 1, 6, 4, 5 chord progression in the key of C. If you tell your band that, they're going to have a pretty good idea of what to do. It's a very fast way to write songs on the fly. Now, you'll have to go over the rhythm and style with your bandmates, but it doesn't matter if you're playing blues, rock, or country, or reggae. This is going to sound good because all these chords come from the same chord scale. It's a very stable chord progression. In fact, the 1, 6, 4, 5 chord progression is a very popular chord progression in rock and country styles. Let's put it on the backing track. All right, so using this chord playing software, I've entered in our chord progression: C major, A minor, F major, G major. That's a 1, 6, 4, 5 chord progression in key of C. And let's hear how this sounds with this modern rock ballad setting here. I think it works. That is a 1 chord to a 6 chord to the 4 chord to the 5 chord. And it just loops that over and over again. You wrote that. That is your song. Let's use the same chord progression in a different style. Let's find something here. I don't know. Do you see anything? Barrett 90s rock ballad. Okay. Because I want to prove to you that it doesn't matter what band you put this to or what style you put this to, as long as it's a chord progression within that chord scale, it's going to sound stable. Now, you may not like the style, but you'll know that it sounds like music. So let's give this a try. Ooh, we have violins. I think it's a cello. Yeah, so there's your 1, 6, 4, and 5. There you go. So you may not like that style, but I guarantee you it sounds like music. You know, even though you may not like the music, it sounds stable because of the chord progression. Let's do one more here. Hella funky acoustic jam rock. I have no idea how this is going to sound, but let's give it a try. So there you go. It works. We have a 1, 6, 4, 5. It doesn't matter what I enter into that software, it's going to sound like a 1, 6, 4, 5 chord progression. Okay, well that was fun. Let's do it again. And you're probably thinking, wow, is this how they write music? Nope, it's not. Most musicians are unaware of the chord scale, but their ears have a doctorate in music. So if a songwriter is starting off a song in key of C and they play a C chord, what they'll do is they'll play around with different chords and they'll match the ones that they think sounds the best. They don't understand the math, but their ear is telling them what chords work. And most of the time, the chords that they choose from their ear will fit within this chord scale. All we're doing is reverse engineering that. We're putting this all on paper and we're just kind of randomly choosing chords for our song. We don't even know what the song is going to sound like, but just from choosing chords out of the scale, we're putting something together that sounds stable. So for our next tune, I'm going to go with a 1 chord to the 4 chord to the 5 chord, and then I'm going to go back to the 4 chord. And I picked this because it's pretty common. In early rock and roll, even modern rock and roll, you get a lot of 1-4-5 chord progressions. You get that in blues as well, and country music. So let's hear how this sounds with the backing track. I've entered in the 1-4-5-4 chord progression using the C major chord scale, and I've chosen a country boogie pedal steel style. So let's hear how this sounds with country music. There you go. That is a 1, 4, 5, 4, a 1-4-5-4 chord progression in key of C. That sounds really good with blues and country, and that's primarily what those styles are made up of. So we had a pretty good shot of making that sound really good with that track. Let's find something else. Let's do some ripping hard rock surf. So we're going to go to California and listen to some surf guitar using our chord progression. 1, 4, 5, 4. Works pretty good with that style. Let's find one more. How about, I got so many bands in the software. Let's do some Texas rock and roll. I'm from Texas. Let's see if this works. One, 4, 5, 4, 1. There you go. Now you can use your own guitar to play these chord progressions. So you don't have to use software. It'll sound just as good on your guitar if you have a good sense of rhythm. Then you're in control of your styling. And to conclude this level, that's exactly what I want you to do. To use your own creative process to write your own chord progression. Just a quick reminder, you'll want to stay away from the diminished chord. We haven't learned that chord yet, plus it's a special function type of chord. But chords 1 through 6 are wide open for your creativity. In the beginning, I would focus on starting with the 1 chord and then pick 3 other chords to accompany that. But as you get more involved in this, you can start adding chords to your chord progression. We can also create chord progressions in other keys. And on this page, I have all the sharp keys written out. All we have to do is apply this chord scale to any of these keys to create chord progressions. So for example, if we want to write a chord progression in key of G, we would spell out the G major scale and simply apply the chord scale to it. And when we do that, we have the 1 chord as a G major, the 2 chord as an A minor, the 3 chord as a B minor, the 4 chord as a C major, the 5 chord as a D major, the 6 chord as an E minor, and then the 7 chord as an F sharp diminished chord. So it would be a good idea to memorize the chord scale. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. If you do that, then you can instantly create chord progressions in any of these keys, providing you have those keys memorized.